Hello everyone and welcome to episode 48 of my Human Mage 1 through 60 playthrough, where currently we are level 49 as we gained a lot of levels last episode, and today is going to be a very similar episode to last episode, where at the start of the episode I am wanting to go to a brand new area of the world and fully explore it for the most part, and then I want to go ahead and kind of do a little bit of like running around the world, do some world trekking, complete some quests and stuff like that, and then at the end of the episode we will probably dive deep into another zone and really talk a lot about that zone, but we will go ahead and get to those points of the episode later on, where at the start here I want to go ahead and fly to the Blast Lands because I want to explore the Blast Lands, where when we look at the vanilla version of World of Warcraft, there's really not a lot of stuff going on in the Blast Lands, but it is a really cool lore area. So let's go ahead and fly to Netherguard Keep, and then we can go ahead and pick up the quests, and I'll show us around the Blast Lands, and then let's go ahead and talk about the lore and story going on here. And now that we have arrived at Netherguard Keep, let's go ahead and start exploring the Blast Lands, where this is kind of like a level 45 to 60 zone kind of, but for the most part, most of the quests around here are for people who are level 50, and then there is like one quest chain starting at like level 57ish, which we may return here for in the future, but I might not end up doing that. I'm not exactly sure if I will, but we are definitely going to be doing the level 50 quests, which there are 5 of, and they are the only quests in this entire zone, but they are kind of connected to each other. We also have these 2 quests down here, but they're just to get some extra loot because all the mobs around here have a chance to drop a special item that we can turn in. But let's go ahead and come to these blood elves, I believe, over here, who are blood mages, and then we can go ahead and pick up all these quests right here, which completing these quests will give us a special reward that basically buffs us up and will allow us to be a little bit more powerful. And all these quests have us fighting all the different beasts around the Blasted Lands. Of course, there are many more mobs than just like all these vultures and the scorpions and those hyenas and whatnot, but we will mostly be spending our time fighting all of these creatures. And as we can see with this Black Slayer right here, we need 14 Vulture Gizzards in order to complete all 3 of the quests that we need Vulture Gizzards for. And then with the Hyena right here, we have to get 5 of the Jowls in order to complete the 2 quests that we need to do. So basically, overall, we are just going to do a lot of fighting and basically just getting a lot of experience while we do this and get all of the items that we need. And I might do a little bit of extra experience farming as well. And then we'll get some stuff like this mystery meat right here, which might be pretty good. But then we're just going to get a bunch of trash items that I'll go ahead and just put that in there. But before we start fighting all of those mobs, let's go ahead and do a little bit of exploration in the Blasted Lands, where really there's like 2 big areas that I want to look at. And for people who remember when I've talked about this zone earlier in this Let's Play series, and for people who just know the zone overall, this is a very important location for Warcraft 1 and Warcraft 2, and especially Warcraft 2, where Netherguard Keep was built in Warcraft 2, and we have a very, very iconic location, probably one of the most iconic locations in all World of Warcraft, even including in like modern day expansions with all of the places that we've explored. This is probably like one of the most like top 10 iconic locations in all World of Warcraft. And that is, of course, the Dark Portal, which is the portal that Medivh opened with the help of Ner'zhul, I believe, or Gul'dan, Ner'zhul, one of the 2, and basically allowed the Orc to invade Azeroth and come into this world and basically do everything that they did and mess everything up, and the alliance was formed and all of that stuff that we've talked about and we'll talk a little bit more about in just a moment. But we have the Dark Portal right here, and I'm not going to get any closer than this right now because there's this level 57 mob and all the other mobs around here are near the same level. But we have the Dark Portal right there, which is actually a blue portal which gets changed in the first expansion of World of Warcraft into a green portal. It was like redesigned or whatever, or maybe there's like a lore reason. Which, yes, of course, this is the starting location for the first expansion to World of Warcraft. the Burning Crusade. As we go through the portal into the Orcs' old home road that used to be called Draenor, but is now called the Outlands, and then we do a bunch of stuff over there. But for the most part, we are not going to be interacting with the Dark Portal at all in this Let's Play series because there's really not anything to do except for some of the quests around here. But if we come over to this area of the Blasted Lands, we have a really cool thing going on over here where of course we know with like the orcs invading and stuff, that is by the hands of the Burning Legion, who are demons controlled by Sargeras that we have talked a little bit about. But if we come over here, we can see a lot more demons, and this is one of the more like demon dense areas, or one of the more demon in-gaming areas, I guess, in World of Warcraft, where there's actually a world boss that spawns over here that we are probably not going to be seeing because it's probably not even up right now. But we have all these Filgard elites around here, and of course this is just a really cool area called the Tainted Scar, which for a group of 40 level 60s is a little bit of a relevant area, but for us we are just going to go ahead and leave that for now, and we can go ahead and return to the Blasted Lands, and then let's go ahead and fight all of these monsters, and let's talk about a few different pieces of lore that I wanted to talk about as we do that. So these areas of the Blasted Lands played a pretty important part in both Warcraft 1 and Warcraft 2, where this foul desert was once the southern part of a dark fen of marshlands called the Black Morass, the northern part being the Swamp of Sorrows. This is the area where the Orcish horde first entered Azeroth through the Dark Portal, followed soon by their attack on the human lands to the northwest. The lands around the former Dark Portal are burnt and dead, forever warped by the powers that followed its destruction. Lightning strikes are constant, and the inhospitable land is home to groups of especially vicious and powerful creatures. Consequently, Netherguard Keep was built after the Second War, following the destruction of the first Dark Portal, at the behest of Archmage Khadgar and the Kirin Tor to ensure that there would be no further invasions from Draenor. Following the Third War and the defeat of the Burning Legion of Mount Hyjal, the colossal arid ruined Lord Khazak led many of the remaining Legion forces on Azeroth in the Tainted Scar, and ordered his most fearsome lieutenant, Razalik the Defiler, to secure the land. As if the Orcish horde weren't enough, Dreadmaw ogres also came through the Dark Portal, but unlike the orcs, they remained in the Blasted Lands. Netherguard's mages tell that the ogres serve Lord Khazak. Whoever their master is, he orders them to attack the Alliance's keep on an uncomfortably regular basis. And of course, going like further into the development of our World of Warcraft, we see this area being a pretty important location for the first expansion to World of Warcraft, the Burning Crusade, as we go through the Dark Portal into Outlands. But then we also see us return for the Warlords of Draenor expansion, which I'm just kind of going to leave that as that. But it's basically just an expansion where we're kind of interacting with Draenor again, and it kind of utilizes the Dark Portal again, but in a different way, using like the Bronze Dragonflight and kind of like a whole lot of like magic and time stuff going on. But other than the Dark Portal and other than Lord Khazak, we have Netherguard Keep, which is probably the most like important location in the Blasted Lands other than those two things, which is an Alliance-occupied fortress, also known as the Citadel of Netherguard, which was a Delaran fortress of Dour mages and paladins built to keep watch over the Dark Portal. It stood on a high bluff along the only road into the Blasted Lands, a road often traveled by both the Horde and the Alliance as they prepared to do battle with the demonic forces in the region. The construction of Netherguard was funded by the various kingdoms of the Alliance of Lordaeron, though some more willingly than others, and constructed by the Stonemasons Guild under the supervision of Edwin Van Cleef. The Archmages of the Kirin Tor, along with the help of King Taranis, Thoris Trollbane, and the young King of Stormwind Varian Wrynn, convinced the members of the Alliance that the high costs involved with the construction of the fortress were well worth it considering the dangers involved with a possible second invasion. It was primarily staffed by members of the Kirin Tor, who were also tasked with stopping the spread of the taint that had crept the Orcish homelands and threatened to spread over all the continent. The Magi managed to preserve the northern swamps and the human realms beyond. At the same time, while humanity began to distance itself from Quel'Thalas, the High Elves still participated in the defense of Netherguard Keep, but that was as much from their fascination with all magic as from any desire to help humans. At some point, back when only the walls, the tower, and a single keep were finished, all the remaining kings of the Alliance visited Netherguard, including Gin Greymane, Dalen Proudmoore, Antonidas, Taranis, Thoris, and Varian. For most of them, it was their first visit to the newly christened Blasted Lands. Khadgar was master of Nethergard until the reconstruction of the Dark Portal by Ner'zhul and his clans on Draenor. When the orcs began attacking Azeroth once more, they besieged the keep. Khadgar and his friends Trallion, Danath Trollbane, Elaria Windrunner, and Curdin Wildhammer rallied their troops and led the Alliance expedition through the Dark Portal in order to destroy the Horde and seal off the portal once and for all. When Ner'zhul opened more portals, which began to tear Draenor apart, the 5 leaders remained behind to seal it from Draenor in order that the backlash would not affect their beloved world of Azeroth. For 20 years thereafter, the Dark Portal was silent. After the portal was sealed, the Mages of Dalaran kept Nethergard in operation, both for the Kirin Tor and the Alliance. They focused their efforts in studying the effects that the portal's energy had on what had become as the Blasted Lands, the mutations to the wildlife, and the tainting of the soil. When Dalaran was destroyed by Archimonde during the invasion of the Burning Legion, Nethergard's continued survival depended on support from the nearby kingdom of Stormwind and by warriors of the Alliance who traveled into the Blasted Lands. The mages of the Wizard's Sanctum were also conducting researches in the keep, research vital to their understanding of the Dark Portal, which required constant supplies. Nethergard Keep was thus supplied by a caravan from Stormwind City. So a lot of stuff goes on in the Blasted Lands and around Nethergard Keep in connection to the Dark Portal, which is also a connection to a whole other planet where we saw at the end of Warcraft 2's expansion, where this great group of Alliance heroes who we see in the Valley of Heroes in Stormwind, they went through the Dark Portal and basically kind of sealed off the portal from that side. And as of the release of World of Warcraft, we don't really know what's going on with them. And Nethergard Keep, as of now, kind of just sits and waits for something to happen with the Dark Portal, and it requires constant support from Stormwind because Dalaran is now destroyed, and we as players resupply the keep, and we also help the keep and help clear out any wildlife, and then some in-game content is dealing with Doomlord Kazak in the Tainted Scar. But I will briefly mention from the Horde side of things, as the orcs came into Azeroth, there were 2 big strongholds that they built near the Dark Portal. One was Stonard and one was Rockard. And Stonard we see in the Swamp of Sorrows, and it's the Horde's big base of operations for both the Blasted Lands and for the Swamp of Sorrows, and it's a questing hub and stuff. And Rockard is actually now called Dreadmaw Hold, as the ogres have kind of taken control of this area. And there's not too much story stuff going on with the ogres here, but they do attack Nethergard Keep, like I just mentioned earlier, and then you can also just fight back against the ogres. I think the Horde have maybe a quest or 2 to deal with them, but I'm not entirely sure there. But as far as the Blasted Land goes, the quests here are pretty basic. You just kill a bunch of things, so I just spent a lot of time killing a bunch of things, trying to avoid Teramis the Devourer, who's a very infamous mob in the game because a lot of people like to pull this mob from the Blasted Lands to Stormwind City, and this is a above level 60 elite dragon, and then Stormwind City has a bunch of level 10 humans, dwarves, night elves, and gnomes running around in it, and Teramis just wreaks havoc on the city and kills a bunch of people, and it's a very infamous thing that happens constantly in World of Warcraft. But beyond all that, I just finished all the questing here and turned in all the quests, and with me leveling up, I really quickly went to Stormwind to basically train, and then did a few other things. And now, after having picked up a few quests in Stormwind, I really wanted to do a quest chain that I have never done before, and that is involving the Mage Tower in Azshara, where at level 50, any mage can unlock a special quest chain that I don't know too much about, but I do know the final quest is a dungeon quest, and I'm probably not going to be doing that dungeon, so we're probably not going to be completing the quest chain, but I kind of just wanted to check out the first few quests that we can do here and complete them and get some experience, because we would definitely like to get some experience right now. But as we run through this zone of Azshara, which I showed in last episode, but I haven't really talked about it at all, it is a zone that has a few quests that we can do in it, but overall there's not too much stuff going on in here, and it's kind of one of the least popular zones in all of vanilla World of Warcraft, because one, it's kind of an annoying zone to navigate, where there's a bunch of tall cliffs with only a few entrances to get back up from the cliff if you fall, and then there's just not that many quests here. I think it's a little bit better suited for Horde, just a few more quests here for them. And I think it was supposed to be like a very big PvP zone, similar to like the hinterlands that I talked about last episode, but it just never ended up being that. But we can go ahead and come up here, and then we have a high elf or blood elf right here that we can talk to. I just want to get out of combat really quickly. Also have the region of Bear's Head that we just discovered, and let's go ahead and talk to Sanath Lemuel, or how you pronounce that name. And then Archmage Xylem awaits your arrival. So we just got teleport to Azshara Tower, and we have now been teleported up here, and we have Nyrel, who is Xylem's apprentice. And then we can go ahead and just run up the cliffs here. We are in northern Kalimdor right now, so we're kind of like close to Hyjal, and we are also close to Winterspring, which is like the highest level zone in this part of Kalimdor. But we have a Mage Tower right here in the region of Bear's Head as well, which I believe is connected to the Furbolgs, but the Mage Tower completely separate. We have a Night Elf right there, and let's go ahead and come into here. We have a nice dragon skull at the entrance, just like in most Mage Towers, and let's go ahead and climb our way to the top, and we can talk to the Archmage, who looks pretty cool. And he says the Blood Elves in Azshara have developed a method for pulverizing the magical items they acquire. This glittering dust they produce differs from the components normally acquired by a disenchantment spell. When I sent my apprentice to trade for the dust, he was killed without hesitation. For that, they must pay. The time for talk is over, Athos. Find the Blood Elves along the cliffs of Azshara and use more persuasive methods to acquire their glittering dust. So, there's two other characters right there that we could talk to if we wanted to. But basically, this quest has us going out into Azshara, and we are going to kill a ton of Blood Elves. So let's get over to that area. But in Azshara, we have a ton of Naga, and we have a ton of Blood Elves around here, which is kind of related to Warcraft 3 in a way, I believe, where there, of course, were a ton of Naga in this area during Warcraft 3 when they were first introduced into the franchise during the first expansion for Warcraft 3, the Frozen Throne. And there is a really big mountain giant right there and a bunch of Furbolgs, and I'm just going to ignore all of them. And there are also some hippogriffs around here, like white and brown hippogriffs as well. It's not like the typical, okay, they're just charging me, like bluish, purplish hippogriffs that we're used to. And we have just discovered Timber Mallhold, which we can see off to our left there, which is a very like giant like wall that shares an asset with another location over in the Eastern Kingdoms of the Greymane Wall in Gilneas, I believe. But it is a really cool kind of area that we don't really know too much about, even in like modern day World of Warcraft, where we haven't really been able to explore like that area of Timber Mallhold. But of course, even in Classic WoW, there are some parts of Timber Mallhold that we can explore that we will run through in a few episodes. I also noticed there's a quest over here that we can pick up, so I might go ahead and check out this quest and see if it has anything to do with the Blood Elves. I kind of remember this quest being around here, but I don't remember fully. And we have just discovered the Thalassian base camp and the Lagash encampment, where I believe the Lagash encampment is related to satyrs, yes, of course, but the Thalassian encampment is related to the Blood Elves. But let's go ahead and try to come up this mountain somewhere around here. Around here, I guess. I think we can climb up here. And indeed we can. And then we have Kimjail the Goblin. And then we can search the Thalassian base camp for Kimjail's Compass, Scope, Stuffed Chicken, and Whizzle Goober. So I guess we can go ahead and try to complete this quest while we do our mage quest over here. And I am hoping I am not out leveled. I am level 50 right now, and these hippogriffs are like level 51, 52. The quest I just picked up is level 53. The quest from the Mage Tower is level 52. So we might be in for a little bit of a challenge, but I think we'll probably be okay. But here we have a bunch of Blood Elves that are indeed level 53. So this might definitely be a little bit of a challenge that we return to in the future. But let's go ahead and just start fighting them, and basically we can just kill them all to get the glittering dust. So I might try to basically just kill all the easier ones. I'll avoid that level 53 mob right there, and we'll just focus on these. And Blood Elves in vanilla World of Warcraft are really, really interesting. The same thing goes with High Elves, where they share a model with Night Elves, but they're just like reskinned to be like white instead of purple. But because of that, it's kind of weird where they like look a little bit funky, where they're not like the Blood Elves that we all know from the Burning Crusade, the first expansion of World of Warcraft, where all or most of the Blood Elves and High Elves around the world were retroactively edited to look like the new Burning Crusade Blood Elves. But as we are able to experience Vanilla WoW like it was back in the day, we can experience these older models, which I actually quite like how they look, but I will say that the Burning Crusade models are definitely a bit better. So we have one box of equipment here. Oh, we are not going to be opening that right now. I guess I got a little too close to that camp, and I am probably in a situation where I might legitimately just die here. Oh, okay, I'm fine. So I guess we need to clear out that camp first. As I leveled up to level 50, I unlocked a new tier water, which I believe is the last tier that we can get. So we are really going to need to enjoy the water that we have right now. There might be one more tier because I know is there 55 water? I actually don't know. There might not be 55 water in Vanilla WoW, but there is in Burning Crusade and in Wrath of the Lich King. But if this is the last upgrade for water, we should definitely try to enjoy it as we get closer to level 60, it's going to be like a little bit weaker for us. So I'm probably going to get completely destroyed here. And I'm just going to try to run away a little bit. And I'm going to try to kill the surveyor here, who's going to get healed up. And healed up again, of course. So this is definitely a bit of a challenge for us. And of course she evades our Frost Nova. And then of course all the other Blood Elves are coming for us. So I'm just going, okay, well. So I just respawned and noticed that there is an equipment right here that we can pick up. And this is much easier to reach than that one where I'm kind of far away from those Blood Elves, but they just decide to attack me. Also, by killing these Blood Elves, we have acquired what I believe is our first piece of rune cloth, which is the highest level, like normal cloth that you can get just from killing monsters in Vanilla WoW, which is really cool. And we are definitely going to want a lot of that in order to level up our tailoring as we are at the end of the game here. So I'm wondering if I throw an ice barrier on and try to get... Oh, let's kill a surveyor first, I guess. But if I try to quickly get that equipment box, if I'm able to snag it before any of those Blood Elves over there hit me. Maybe I should clear out these other surveyors as well. They have such a high aggro range. I didn't even attack that one and it just came charging at me. And those ones charge at me when I come pick up this box. Maybe I should try to come in from the left side, I'm not sure. So let's throw in ice barrier and quickly open this up. And they're not attacking me yet, and they're not attacking me, so... Did I get everything I needed? Okay, so the other 3 items in that crate were the items that I needed for the quest, so I'm done with that quest. So that was a little bit easier than I expected. So I guess we will just kill a bunch more Blood Elves and get the glittering dust that we need. But now that I have slaughtered enough of the Blood Elves here in Azshara, I got all the items I needed, so we can go ahead and come back up to this goblin, and we can turn in this quest, and I'm not entirely sure if there's a quest that comes after this one. Find some rune that the Naga have in their possession, in the ruins of Elderlath, and return it to Kalimdor and Azshara, and I believe that quest is going to go pretty well with the next quest that we are doing. So let's go ahead and turn in this Mage quest, and I think the one after it has something to do with the Naga. So let's go ahead and run all the way back to the Mage's Tower, and then we can go run and do this stuff over here. And then we can turn in this quest to the Archmage, and then we have a new quest to get 6 enchanted coral from the Naga. So yes, the Naga around here. So these 2 quests do line up. So that is good that I'm kind of doing these 2 quest chains at the same time, get that double experience basically. So let's go ahead and head back out of the Mage Tower, and instead of fighting Blood Elves, let's go ahead and fight a bunch of Naga. So we can enter the ruins of Elderlath, and we want to enter it from down here. So we can run into here. This is a really big area that has a bunch of Naga and a bunch of questing stuff that goes on in here like we are doing right now, where I think it's especially good for horde characters. And it looks like we want to fight this siren, and there's a rare mob right there that maybe we'll fight, and we don't want to fight the serpent guards, it looks like. So let's go ahead and just run around here, and I'm gonna do my best to survive and basically just kill a bunch of Naga and hopefully get some rune cloth out of it too. So there's the some rune I needed, so I'm done with that quest, but I still need 6 more pieces of enchanted coral. There's my first piece of enchanted coral. I just got a piece of enchanted coral from this Naga, but I also got some blue gear here, which is unfortunately plate gear, but I might be able to sell it for a little bit of gold, and it looks so cool. I wish I was a warrior or a paladin right now, because that is a really cool piece of armor. Level 46, 12 strength, 8 agility, 12 stamina, 403 armor. I think that's a pretty good piece of armor as well. I am leveling a warrior on this realm, so this would be good for like that character, but I am planning on stopping that adventure at level 40 because I'm not enjoying it too much, but I just really want to get to level 40. But I'm definitely going to try to sell this on the auction house, and I have a feeling this might go for like a decent amount of gold. And there's my last piece of enchanted coral, so I can go ahead and mount up, and I've completed the 2 quests that I needed to complete in this area, so we can go ahead and leave this spot. So then we can turn in the first quest here with the enchanted coral and complete that. And then we need an arcane shard from the sunken temple. So this is the dungeon part of the quest, and we get one of these 3 cool items if we wanted to do this quest. And I'm probably going to accept it for now, but I'll probably quickly delete it when we go to an area and I need to pick up quests, and we are probably not going to be doing the sunken temple. So with that quest chain basically completed as far as I'm wanting to complete it, I am done with all of that. And let's go ahead and return to the goblin all the way over here, and we can turn in that quest. So I have made a grave mistake by walking too close to this cliff walker, but I think I'm fine. I'm alive. He hit me for like basically half my health, but we are okay. And he runs really fast. If I was not on my mount, he definitely would have chased us down. Let's not fall into the Naga ruins now. And back here we can turn in this quest, which I believe is one of those quests where it's kind of not a morally good thing for us to have done, but we got golden experience from that, and we are now done with that quest chain. And I think we've pretty much completed all the quests in Azshara that we pick up in Azshara. I know there's one quest in Ironforge that I didn't really want to do here, and there might be some other things elsewhere as well. And I think I'm going to go ahead and just teleport back to Darnassus. I also learned the portal skill to go to Darnassus, so we now have all of our teleportation stuff here unlocked. But I think I'm going to go ahead and head to the Flight Master, and I am going to head to a new area for us to start exploring some new stuff. And I have just flown into Gadgetzan and Daenerys because I want to start a new adventure where I want to go to a brand new zone that we haven't explored yet, where I have 1 quest to turn in here and then 1 quest to pick up, and this quest will probably give me something to pick up, where I picked this quest up in Darnassus, and I can go ahead and pick this one up, and this does have us going to Ungoro Crater, so we can go ahead and do that quest. And then we can talk to Tranrek right here, and then we can pick up Super Sticky, which is another quest in Ungoro Crater, which is one of the highest level zones here in Kalimdor, and I believe it's like level 48 to level 55, and I think it definitely kind of ranges in the level 55 way, so I might be spending a lot of time in this zone just killing a bunch of mobs and really trying to get some experience to get my level up a little bit and completing all the quests around here. But there is one major base camp in this area, and I'm going to try to reach that base camp, and then we'll go ahead and talk about the zone and some of the lore and story going on here. So here we are at the entrance to Ungoro Crater, where we have Daenerys here, and then we are coming down into a crater basically with a giant volcano in the center of it. But I guess the entire zone is technically like a volcano based off like what volcanoes really are, but a lot of people really like the center because it has a lot of lava and stuff flowing down around it. And then all around the outskirts of the map, we can see as we are loading into this area here that it is a very lush and green zone, where all the zones around this area like Daenerys and Celithis and Thousand Needles are very like deserty. Of course, Fairless is an exception there, but Ungoro Crater is a very lush and green zone, and the focus is a lot on kind of like a prehistoric theme, where there's a lot of stuff with dinosaurs going on here, and there's like oil, like, you know, very old dinosaurs, and then a bunch of other things similar to that. Let's go ahead and pick up these quests. Another cool thing about this zone is that there's just a bunch of stuff to collect to turn in for like different quests here, which is kind of bad for our inventory management. But we have some blue power crystals that I'm going to go ahead and grab because that is going to be important for us in a little bit. But I'm mostly just going to try to make my way to like the north central area of this map, where we can go ahead and pick up a bunch of quests for us to do and basically just start exploring this zone a lot. But there's a Tyrant Devilsaur, which is a very dangerous and powerful mob, and we have to be very careful about them. But something really cool about like those Devilsaurs is that they spawn a very special type of leather that is good for making some like hot, like level 60 like pre-raid like leather armor, which is good for like rogues and druids and stuff like that. Is that the only two that wear leather? Something like that. But I remember on private servers, which is kind of like a no-no word to say on like YouTube and Twitch and stuff like that, there was a lot of kind of like scandals or controversies with Devilsaur like leather, because there was like the whole like mafia stuff that formed on like different private servers where they tried to control like the entire Devilsaur like market, and they were basically like camping them and like preventing anyone from getting them, and then like raising the prices super high. So it's like a little fun piece of World of Warcraft like community lore instead of just like game lore. But we are now approaching the main outpost in the zone known as Marshall's Refuge, and it is definitely a refuge because we are going to be relatively safe in this area. And there are also a bunch of quests here, and we are basically just going to spend the rest of the episode working out of this area. And I'm going to pick up all the quests, and I only have 3 slots in my quest log, so I am probably going to get rid of these 2 Searing Gorge quests, and then I think I'll probably get rid of these 2 Sunken Temple quests, and then I'll probably get rid of the Mage Tower quest that we had too. So that is down here. Go ahead and get rid of that because I am probably not going to run Sunken Temple. And then let's go ahead and pick up all the quests around here. Here are the 2 marshals that this outpost is named after, and they were basically leading this caravan here through Ungoro Crater, but some bad stuff happened and we can go ahead and help them out. And we can also investigate Ungoro Crater, just like how all these crystals around here play an important part in a story that is being told here. So let's go ahead and pick up this quest, which is the last quest we can pick up. So Crystals of Power by J.D. Colley. Let's go ahead and pick that up. And then I'll throw that over there and throw that over there. And if you take a look at our map, there is a lot of stuff going on here. So I am going to be spending a lot of time doing all the quests around here, and I'm probably going to try to get to like level 52, hopefully. That's my goal. And we might even get a little bit higher than 52 if I'm willing to do a lot of extra stuff here as well. Of course, a lot of the stuff around here is very high level, and we are going to struggle with that a little bit because we are currently level 50, but it should get a little bit easier as we level up. So let's go ahead and get started with all of that, and let's talk about some of the lore and story going on with this area. So the Ungoro Crater is a pretty unique location, like we've seen already, where it's like a lush jungle type of area that's like also like a volcanic crater, and it's surrounded by deserts. And then we've seen like all these different dinosaurs and like prehistoric like creatures, where Ungoro Crater actually plays a pretty big part in future stories in World of Warcraft, especially in the Wrath of the Lich King expansion. And then aside all of that, Ungoro Crater is also a location that has a ton of pop culture references, where I've barely talked about this in this Let's Play series, but all throughout World of Warcraft, there are a ton of references to like real life people, to other video games, and to like basically every creative thing that's ever existed ever, and like a lot of people that have ever existed ever throughout the entirety of World of Warcraft. And we see that in every expansion. And Ungoro Crater is a pretty big location where there's a lot of like Nintendo characters, if I can say that word on this platform. There's a lot of those types of characters around here. But to speak about some of the lore and history of this place, there is a character in the next map after this location that kind of talks about the Ungoro Crater and the area around here, where she says, "The Night Elf army was pushed back through Ungoro Crater to the borders of the Tenaris Desert. Something in Ungoro prevented the Karaji from being able to take the land. I do not quite understand this word, but I believe it to mean Godlands. It is stated that they could not take the Godlands." Fascinating. This coincides with theories of Ungoro being the home of the Titans when they inhabited Kalimdor. Perhaps Aman'Thul will himself watch over the God's lands. Curious. Where when we look at like the entirety of World of Warcraft's history, we can kind of learn more about the ancient history of this place, where when the Titans shaped Azeroth, Freya designed Angora Crater to be an area for experimentation along with Shogunzar Basin and the Vale of Eternal Blossoms. All three locations were places where the power of the Well of Eternity had coalesced. The wild gods emerged from these craters of life. According to Nablia, one might call the Angora Crater the Titans' petri dish. This coincides with theories of Angora being the home of the Titans when they inhabited Kalimdor. And then when we look at the World of Warcraft classic story itself, an expedition troop led by Willadin and Huanyi Marshall set foot into the crater. However, their endeavor was not fully prepared for everything, having underestimated the savagery of Angora and ended sooner than they wished. They sought higher ground from the savage beasts of the crater once their base camps were overrun, making their escape at Marshall's refuge. Elementals invaded the area only to be fought by the adventurers of the Alliance and the Horde. Where basically this is the bulk of the questing that we have going on here, where we have Marshall's Refuge here, and we basically just help out with this entire expedition here, and we do different things around the crater in order to help them out. And you can see a variety of different camps that were part of the expedition camps scattered throughout Angora Crater, but they are mostly coalesced here in Angora Crater now. But they are mostly coalesced at Marshall's Refuge now. And then there are some other characters, like some different goblins from Gadgetzan, I believe, that you can find in Angora Crater. And then Angora Crater itself is also a location where we come to do different quests from quest givers that we find around the world, where we have some stuff from Darnassus and some stuff from Ratchet that we are doing here in this land. And overall, there's really not a lot like to really talk about this location. It's like pretty important for some of like the ancient history, like the Titans, has a little bit of a footnote in the Ancrage War and the War of the Shifting Sands, and just a variety of different quests. There's also one really interesting quest chain that is going on here, with pylons and power crystals, where there are 3 pylons, a northern, western, and eastern pylon. The southern pylon is mysteriously absent, and it may be significant that there are no Silithid hives near the Angora pylons except in the south. Scattered throughout Angora are crystals colored either red, yellow, blue, or green. The crystals can be used on the pylons providing you have the right combination of crystals. The pylons require all 3 quests from J.D. Colley at Marshall's Refuge to be complete before they will accept your crystals. Which this is kind of just like an interesting questline that has a little bit of story significance, but I don't think we really learn too much about like these pylons itself. And we kind of see something similar to this happening in the Wrath of the Lich King expansion, but as far as classic WoW goes, the pylons really only serve as like a way to kind of buff your character up like temporarily, where you can basically give power crystals to the pylons and then you'll get like a short buff, which I don't think many people really care too much about and don't really go for those buffs, except for maybe people like min-maxing something at like a certain level so they can get like a little bit of extra damage for some reason, because we see that happen throughout the game at different moments and in different places. And beyond that, I just completed all the quests around Angora Crater and just leveled up a couple of times, which was nice. And I went around the world where I had to go to like Ratchet, and I had to go to Feralis, and I had to go to Darnassus, and I turned in all these different quests and basically just got a bunch of experience. And then I had collected a lot of items in my journeys in Angora Crater, so I returned to Stormwind where I was able to train some new skills because I leveled up, and I think I have unlocked the final conjure food skill that we can get in the game, which is cool. We now have both of the max level conjure food and water skills, which is very interesting, but we have like one more conjure like mana gem item spell that we can get, and then we also have one more skill of frostbolt left to get, I believe, but we are getting really close to level 60 as we are currently level 52. But I went to the auction house and threw all my items up on the auction house to get a little bit of gold, because I kind of want to get some gold, but I'm probably not going to spend too much of it. Where I decided I would buy a special hat for level 53 that is an upgrade to what I'm currently wearing, and is a hat that I think looks a little bit cooler than what I currently have on. And then with all that, I decided I was going to go ahead and call this episode good here. And I really hope you all enjoyed this episode as we explore through the Blasted Lands and as we explored through Angora Crater. And I hope you all are taking good care of yourselves. Remember to drink some water, check your posture, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time in the world of Azeroth. Goodbye.